Risk number 5 is Russia's second front.
We've talked a lot for the last several years about Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and of course that war continues. And indeed, the tail risks around that war are becoming greater. The likelihood of an unanticipated escalation from Russia or from Ukraine that leads to that war getting worse, or the possibility under pressure that the Ukrainians capitulate and a ceasefire is accepted. Those things are more likely in the next year than they have been in 2025. But the major risk is not about that. The major risk is that as the war grinds on and becomes much more costly, human cost, economic cost for the Russians, and much harder to sustain for the Ukrainians, the asymmetric war between Russia and NATO frontline states is continuing. We've already seen the drones, we've seen the weather balloons, we've seen the cyber attacks, we've seen the direct espionage, we've seen the attacks on critical infrastructure, all from Russian sources directly and indirectly into NATO. But what we haven't seen so far is NATO responding with anything but words. That's starting to change. A number of NATO countries are starting to say we need to put resistance measures in place so that as the Russians are engaging in these strikes, we will respond. And the potential for that response to lead to meaningful escalation beyond the war in Ukraine is growing. So, yes, a fourth year of war between Russia and Ukraine is a baseline for 2026, and we should all expect that. But that's in a sense been priced in, both economically and geopolitically, to expectations in the world going forward. What hasn't been priced in is the potential that the fight between Russia and Ukraine is causing direct conflict between Russia and NATO frontline states. And the potential for this to fragment NATO is also real. Would the United States provide full support to these frontline states as they face asymmetric attacks from Russia? Increasingly, the answer is the United States is not seen as a reliable ally. This makes Europe more vulnerable. It makes Europe more divided. It entices the Russians, but it also makes the war in Ukraine more dangerous.